All right, so we are ready to get started, people. I had two quick questions I need to answer. Alyssa asked about how to turn in the PSA. For those of you that never turn anything on Canvas and you always write everything down, I always put a turn in on Canvas for you to turn in any assignments that you do. I just call it, we chapter 9 and 10. I just call it chapter 9 and 10 turn in. And then I click every kind of submission that you can do, file, media, and then, and this might change your mind, Alyssa. I don't know if you've already started. Scott just asked about Flipgrid, if I could make that a Flipgrid assignment. So I will link that as well for those of you that like that and the ease of doing a Flipgrid. I will put that on today. If I have not done it by the end of the day, like by 3:30, would someone please send me an email that says, hey, Mrs. Norris, you said you would do that on a Flipgrid. My brain always thinks that it can remember things, and it fails me all the time. So I will do that, and it will, I hope to have it there by the end of the day. If you don't see it by 3:30, somebody just send me a quick email, and I will get it. Yes, ma'am.
Also, like the lesson 5, your body paragraphs, have we got that yet?
That's what I haven't given you. Lesson 5. Cross that out. All right. Hey, people, cross out lesson 5 DBQ because that's what I have not given you, right? I did not give that to you yet. All right. So we'll do that on our next chapter. We're ahead of that game anyway. So, all right. Did you hear that? I don't think for Finn and Damon I put that on there. All right. So, shh. I know Finn, everyone says hi. Damon, everybody says hi. All right, the bottom of page 5. And Damon. Hi, Damon.
Hey, Damon.
All right, I don't know if they can hear that far away.
We love you, Damon.
Okay, there, we heard you. All right, bottom of page 5. 2 really important topics before we move on to our next, because it will be important in the part that we're going to do at the end of the hour, listening to our Hamilton rap battle. And this is something that we need moving forward, especially when we move into Thomas Jefferson's presidency. And it's the idea of strict constructionist. A strict constructionist, I'm back on page 5. I'm just going to go over this one more time because it's really that important. A strict constructionist says strictly to interpret the Constitution. If it did not stipulate a bank in the Constitution, you cannot have a bank. Hamilton argues that this loose construction is precisely why we had that elastic clause, because we couldn't think of everything. And so we have to have something that allows the Constitution to expand. And it's one of the reasons that we have had this one document, because of that idea of elastic. And what that elastic clause says, passing any laws necessary and proper. It gives a wide variance to allow government to govern in times as we move forward in the future, or in times of disaster, in times of national emergencies, or in times of prosperity, so that the government can do what it needs to do to function as a government. And the bank, Alexander Hamilton argues, is necessary and proper. Hamilton's going to argue that. Jefferson's going to argue, even with that elastic clause, what makes a bank necessary and proper to govern. And that's going to be the big showdown. On the top of page 6, Washington reluctantly signed the bank measure into law, February 1791. Hamilton's views prevailed over Jefferson, so he wins in that one. The bank is going to be chartered for 20 years. So it has a charter for 20 years that will allow it to function, and then in that 20 years be reviewed again. And so we're going to meet this bank issue time and time again, with the ultimate showdown coming with our friend Andrew Jackson over there on the wall, who hates the bank. Hates it. He's going to kill it. The bank is located in Philadelphia. We still currently have a mint for United States coins in Philadelphia. And again, this old North-South feud is going to rise up again. The South is going to say this bank favors commercial and financial people in the North. Agricultural South see their state banks decline. So if you are a person that wants to put money in a bank and you have a choice of a state bank, so the Bank of Virginia versus the Bank of the United States of America, I think even in 2021, most of us would choose that federal bank, that there's some kind of security in a bank that the government is making sure runs properly. So the bank issue is going to spark open debate against Hamilton and Jefferson, and we're going to see that in part of our rap battle. There's our BFAT. Even though I wrote it on the board, I wanted you, again, to write that in your own words. Bank of U.S., excise tax, funding at par, assumption of state debts, and tariffs. You need to make sure you know that. And that should be the first thing that you write on your test on Friday is BFAT. It's really important. It's one term that, I know it sounds funny, BFAT, but everybody in U.S. history knows what that term means. You can go to any professor of U.S. history and say, tell me what you know about BFAT. Oh, you want to talk about Hamilton's economic plan. It is, again, something that is universally understood. So now we get to another really important rebellion. This is the Whiskey Rebellion. And as we said a couple of pages ago, the first thing that Hamilton's going to do is put excise tax on things, and he chooses whiskey. One of the things about Hamilton that is always a negative is because of his background. He grew up in Caribbean islands, an orphan, a mother whose reputation is not the greatest, and grew up without, his mom's going to die young, and he has a gigantic chip on his shoulder about trying to fit in with this group of men that he runs around with that are wealthy, educated. The one thing that he has going from him is that he is incredibly smart. He is a very, very intelligent man, but he's always feeling like he's on the outside looking in about everything, about his family heritage, about money. And so he tends to side with the group that he wants to belong to. And so in taxing whiskey, it doesn't affect anybody in the North. It just affects a certain group of people. It targets a group of people. And excise taxes typically do that, like we talked about the other day, smokers. But this tax is seen as something different. It's seen again as this elitist. And the fear again from both sides, Hamilton's elitist group of people and the people that are going to have the whiskey tax set on them, is revisiting the ideas of the American Revolution again, that we got these elite people telling us what to do without our input. And that's what it's going to feel like to these people. So we have southwestern Pennsylvania backcountry folks that are going to be really, really mad. They are hit very hard by this whiskey tax. As I said yesterday, they use this as currency. They pay off debts. They go to the general store, leave 2 kegs of corn liquor, and head off with seed for the next fall season to harvest. That's the way that this functions as a currency. So what does the Whiskey Rebellion have anything to do with Hamilton, the federal government? It's C2, a major challenge to the new national government. So we are getting ready to face another rebellion. How will the federal government, this strong central government, react? Remember, why do we have a strong central government? Because of what rebellion? Shays' Rebellion, right? Shays' Rebellion already said, we need a strong central government. We're getting ready to challenge that strong central government. And it is, again, an incredibly important rebellion for how this new strong central government, Had they failed to control this rebellion, boom, another explosion, we got to meet and create a new document. We got to do this all over again. So the Whiskey Rebellion is a really, really significant part in this roll towards establishing a strong central government. It's one thing to have it on paper. It's one thing to have this document. And the reason we revere this document so well in our history, in our country, is because it works. In 1794, it hadn't done anything yet. Does that make sense? It's just a piece of paper that's been ratified. Nothing has happened to ensure that that document really does anything. In 2021, we revere that document because it's been the guiding principle for 200 plus years of successful guidance to our country. In 1794, we don't have that yet. So guess what these whiskey boys do? They burn up buildings. They tar and feather people. They burn down the tax revenues office. They chase the government supporters out of the region, and they talk about seceding from the United States. That should, again, be very, very familiar. And again, I hope that I am impressing upon you, just because we won this revolution thing didn't mean it ended everything. In some aspects, it's just beginning. So Washington summons the militia of several states, resulting in a 13,000-man army. And this, again, is a very crucial idea because Washington, who is now president, we would never think of our president of getting out and leading in this way in a current time. Washington accompanied the troops. Hamilton goes all the way. Now, part of Hamilton's thing, for those of you that know the background, was in the American Revolution, he always wanted to fight. He fights for just at the very beginning. He's a very skilled tactician. He was a very important leader, but he gets pulled away because he's so smart to work in camp as an aide to Washington. And he is constantly trying to get back into the battle, and he never does. And he sees this as his shining moment to bring out glory on the battlefield. But what happens is when the Whiskey Boys see this big shining example of the new United States federal government, the Whiskey Boys just kind of fade off into the backwoods, never to be seen again. The significance of the Whiskey Rebellion is the federal government showed that it can ensure domestic tranquility. So the preamble of the Constitution, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. That's the preamble. That's what the Constitution says and guarantees for every single citizen. And the most important, domestic tranquility. All of these mobs, all of this tarring and feathering, who was afraid of that? Who was afraid of all that mob mentality? The elites, right? That's the people that were afraid of it. And so what this has guaranteed is that we aren't going to have any more of these rebellions. The federal government will respond quickly. And who does that ensure domestic tranquility to? The elites, the Hamilton people, the Federalists, the bankers, the people that are afraid of that mobocracy. So Jeffersonians hate the outcome of the Whiskey Rebellion. Jeffersonians condemn the action as a brutal display of force, kind of sort of much like the way the British Crown dealt with Boston. See the similarities? Okay, so that is really important as we move forward, that the upper hand is held by the Federalist, and that Jefferson, who states many times, it's a revolution run red with blood is good every 20 years or so. Thomas Jefferson truly 100% believed until he became president that revolution was good. That blood running red from revolution every 20 years or so is good. He genuinely thought that every 20 years we would need to rewrite the Constitution. Again, until he became president, and he kind of changed his mind on that aspect. So at the top of page 7, Hamilton's financial plan becomes the cornerstone of the American financial system. In 1790 and in 2021. It is the plan that we use in some form or another. Strengthen the government politically as well as financially. There is no way, and again, I think I said this yesterday about the United States becoming an economic superpower first. There is no way that you can be a superpower if you don't have economic stability. You just can't. That has to come first. It has to come first. And Hamilton understood that. Strong public credit, loose construction paved the way for an increase of federal power, anticipated the Industrial Revolution in his report on manufacturers, and Jeffersonian opposition emerged due to encroachment upon states' rights, and that will be what will be the important part. Next is the birth of the party system. Founding fathers in 1787 did not envision the existence of political parties. And oh, lordy, 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 would we not be better off without political parties? Organized opposition seemed disloyal and against the spirit of national unity. And no national parties had ever existed in America before Washington. Factions had existed, but not real political parties. And by 1792, two well-defined groups had crystallized. Hamilton's Federalist and Jeffersonian's Republicans. Now, here's the part that's going to kind of be difficult for you, especially those of you that are actually pretty well educated on political parties. The Jeffersonian Republicans are not Republicans as in modern day Republicans. This is eventually going to turn into the Democratic Party that we recognize today. So please don't confuse that Republican, that use of Republican, as what looks like the Republican Party today. And this two-party system is owed largely to the clash between Hamilton and Jefferson. So we've got our Federalist. And Federalists are fairly easy to figure out. Believed in government by upper class, who are the best people. So my Federalist in this PSA, you're the best people. Who do you want running your country? The best people. And what do those best people look like? Well, rich. That's pretty important if you want to be part of the best people group. Smart. Education. Cultured. John Jay said, those who own the country ought to govern it. Feel free to use that line, you PSA people. You don't have to invent new things. Give credit to our friend John Jay as you say it. Distrusted the common people. We don't like those common people. Democracy is too important to be left to poor dumb people who don't understand. Support a strong central government. Crush democratic excesses. Crush them. Federal government should encourage business, not interfere with it. That's laissez-faire, hands off. And they are pro-British in their foreign policy. Most lived in urban areas on the eastern seaboard. Again, most Federalists are going to be located in the north. Jeffersonians, on the other hand, advocated the rule of the people, government for the people. However, asterisk, 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 only those that could read. So there was no one, even in this Jeffersonian and Federalist, who thought all people should participate. Jefferson had his little snobbiness as well. Believed in the wisdom of the common people. Biggest appeal was to the middle class and the underprivileged, yeoman farmers, and a yeoman means a first time. So new farmers, laborers, artisans, small shopkeepers. And please remember C3. And again, you can use this if you are a anti-federalist or a Democratic Republican. Democratic Republicans believed the best government was one that governed least. Yes. You got a piece of paper that said it on your piece of paper what you were. Yes. It's the one that says PSA at the top. You did. It looks like that. You got it. Look back through. Jeffersonians themselves were, look at number 5, agrarian. Jefferson believed everybody should be agriculturally based, freedom of speech, and they are pro-French. So that's our setup. You could not create 2 more groups of people more diametrically opposed than Hamilton and Jefferson. All right, so we are now going to look at this rap battle.
That song is so
There's an extra one, Johnny, for Alex. Okay. All right, so we are getting ready to listen to, and we're going to listen to it all the way for those of you that have never heard this before. All right, the lyrics are on the side. We're going to be answering this. So we're going to listen to this twice. I'm going to play it just the whole way through the first time, trying to get the bad words, because I have to. Okay. I'll try to mute the bad words. All right. So the first time we're just going to listen. And for those of you that have never heard or seen anything about Hamilton, you are getting ready for a treat.
Ladies and gentlemen, you could have been anywhere in the world tonight, but you're here with us in New York City. Are you ready for a cabinet meeting? Huh? The issue on the table. Secretary Hamilton's plan to assume state debt and establish a national bank. Secretary Jefferson, you have the floor, sir.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We fought for these ideals, we shouldn't settle for less. These are wise words and surprising men quote them. Don't act surprised, you guys, cause I wrote them. Ow, but Hamilton forgets. His plan would have the government assume state debt. Now place your bets as to who that benefits. The very seat of government where Hamilton sits.
Not true.
Ooh, if the shoe fits wearing, if New York's in debt, why should Virginia bear it? Our debts are paid, I'm afraid. Don't tax the South because we got it made in the shade. In Virginia, we plant seeds in the ground. We create. You just want to move our money around. This financial plan is an outrageous demand, and it's too many damn pages for any man to understand. Stand with me in the land of the free. Pray to God we never see Hamilton's candidacy. Look, when Britain taxed our tea, we got frisky. Imagine what's gonna happen when you try to tax our whiskey.
Thank you, Secretary Jefferson. Secretary Hamilton, your response. Thomas, that was a real nice declaration. Welcome to the present, we're running a real nation. Would you like to join us? Or stay mellow, doing whatever the hell it is you doing, Monticello? If we assume the debts the union gets, a new line of credit, a financial diuretic, how do you not get it? If we're aggressive and competitive, the union gets a boost, you'd rather give it a sedative? A civics lesson from a slaver. Hey neighbor, your debts are paid because you don't pay for labor. We plant seeds in the south, we create and keep ranting. We know who's really doing the planting. And another thing, Mr. Age of Enlightenment, don't lecture me about the war, you didn't fight in it. You think I'm frightened of you, man? We almost died in the trench when you were off getting high with the French. Thomas Jefferson always hesitant with the president. Medicine, there isn't a plan he doesn't jettison. Medicine, you mad as a habit, so take your medicine. Damn, you in worse shape than the national debt is in. Sitting there useless as two shits. Hey, turn around, bend over, I'll show you where my shoe fits. Excuse me. Madison, Jefferson, take a walk. Hamilton, take a walk. We're going to reconvene after a brief recess. Hamilton, sir, a word. You don't have the votes. You don't have the votes. You're gonna need congressional approval and you don't have the votes.
Such a blunder. Sometimes it makes me wonder why I even bring the thunder.
Why he even brings the thunder? You want to pull yourself together? I'm sorry, these Virginians are birds of a... Young man, I'm from Virginia, so watch your mouth. So we let Congress get held hostage by the South? You need the votes. No, we need bold strokes. We need this plan. You need to convince more folks. Well, James Madison won't talk to me. That's a non-starter. Winning was easy, young man. Governing's hard. They're being intransigent. You have to find a compromise. But they don't have a plan. They just hate mine. Convince them otherwise. And what happens if I don't get congressional approval? I imagine they'll call for your removal. Sir, figure it out, Alexander. That's an order from your commander.
Okay. So for those of you that heard that the first time, how many of you heard that? That was the first time you ever heard that? Just a few people? Okay. I will say, what?
Hamilton's on Disney Plus.
Yes, that's the only reason I have Disney Plus. I keep telling myself I'm going to drop it, but then I watch it 3 more times. I've probably watched that a gazillion times. So as we look through at the top, as the Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton is charged with charting the course of the new nation's financial plan and security. Faced with huge debts owed to other nations, no real tax system, and no way to get credit as a nation, Hamilton comes up with a plan. So one of the things, especially on that one pager, that I really want you to think about as you think about this first cabinet, they are the first. There's never been a Secretary of Treasury of the United States. There's never been a Secretary of War of the United States. There's never been a Secretary of State of the United States. There's never been a President of the United States. There's not a guidebook for them to look at. And again, especially as we look at stuff like, if you look on the page where it says, and another thing, Mr. Age of Enlightenment, I love that line so much. These are really smart people who are putting into practice philosophies and theories from other people. So as you read back through this, ask, what is Hamilton's plan? All you got to do is write the B fat right there. What is Jefferson arguing? And I really want you to explain his reasoning, right? What is Alexander arguing? What is Jefferson arguing? Why is Jefferson saying this isn't fair? This shouldn't be the way that we do things. And then on the next page, what's Hamilton's argument? Explain Hamilton's reasoning. Then why didn't Hamilton have the votes? What becomes the compromise with the South to get Hamilton's plan passed? And then the last question on that is really, really important. Again, another compromise. How important has compromise been to the founding of the United States, of this new nation? It has been everything, right? Then look on the economy of a new nation. You're going to do kind of a Hamilton versus Jefferson. So I'm going to play this just one more time. And I always try to get the bad words, but sorry. Oh, we went to the next one. Yes, it's due on Friday.
Okay,
Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That was
you
Alexander
could have been
singing with his
anywhere in
son.
the world tonight, but
Yeah,
you're
it's
here
due on
with
Friday.
us in New York City. Are you ready for a cabinet meeting? Huh? The issue on the table. Secretary Hamilton's plan to assume state debt and establish a national bank. Secretary Jefferson, you have the floor, sir.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We fought for these ideals, we shouldn't settle for less. These are wise words, enterprising men quote them. Don't act surprised, you guys, cause I wrote them. Now, but Hamilton forgets. His plan would have the government assume state debt. Now, place your bets as to who that benefits. The very seat of government where Hamilton sits.
Not true.
Oh, if the shoe fits where
And he's talking about New York,
why should
and it
Virginia
benefits
vary?
the northern states.
Our debts are paid, I'm afraid. Don't tax the South because we got it made in the shade. In Virginia, we plant seeds in the ground. We create. You just want to move our money around. This financial plan is an outrageous demand, and it's too many damn pages for any man to understand. Stand with me in the land of the free. Pray to God we never see Hamilton's candidacy. Look, when Britain taxed our tea, we got frisky. Imagine what's gonna happen when you try to tax our whiskey.
Thank you, Secretary Jefferson. Secretary Hamilton, your response. Thomas, that was a real nice declaration. Welcome to the present, we're running a real nation. Would you like to join us? But staying mellow, doing whatever the hell it is you do in Monticello. If we assume the debts the union gets, a new line of credit, a financial diuretic, how do you not get it? If we're aggressive and competitive, the union gets a boost, you'd rather give it a sedative? A civics lesson from a slaver. Hey neighbor, your debts are paid because we don't pay for labor. We plant seeds in the South, we create and keep ranting. We know who's really doing the planting. And another thing, Mr. Age of Enlightenment, don't lecture me about the war. You didn't fight in it. You think I'm frightened of you, man? We almost died in the trench. Well, you were off getting high with the French. Thomas Jefferson always hesitant with the president. Medicine, there isn't a plan he doesn't jettison. Madison, you mad as a hatter, so take your medicine. Damn, you in worse shape than the national debt is in. Sitting there useless as two shits. Hey, turn around, bend over, I'll show you where my shoe fits. Excuse me. Madison, Jefferson, take a walk. Hamilton, take a walk. We're going to reconvene after a brief recess. Hamilton, sir, a word. You don't have the votes.
You don't have the votes. You're gonna need congressional approval, and you don't have the votes. Such a blunder. Sometimes it makes me wonder why I even bring the thunder.
Why he even brings the thunder? You want to pull yourself together? I'm sorry, these Virginians are birds of a... Young man, I'm from Virginia, so watch your mouth. So we let Congress get held hostage by the South? You need the votes. No, we need bold strokes. We need this plan. You need to convince more folks. Well, James Madison won't talk to me. That's a non-starter. Winning was easy, young man. Governing's hard. They're being intransigent. You have to find a compromise. But they don't have a plan. They just hate mine. Convince them otherwise. And what happens if I don't get congressional approval? Imagine they'll call for your removal. Sir, figure it out, Alexander. That's an order from your commander.
So it is true, the only person in the cabinet that did not fight in the American Revolution was Thomas Jefferson. It is true he, as the British were headed towards Monticello, his home, he got on a horse and ran. It is true that all of this financial plan does benefit the North over the South, and that Thomas Jefferson did not have a plan to counteract that. So in that aspect, they're right. Did I give you guys stickers for your quizzes the other day? Okay, let me do that. All right, questions about this is due Friday with the rest of your assignment. If anybody has any questions about it, let me know. Melissa. cutoff is 23. We'll have to be right at 21.
Yeah.
I have a dog that looks like a dog. Not as big as your dog. Let's see that. You say, you found your dog?
My friends are 20%.
That's